This may be the longest list of buy low wide receivers we've had all season. There are so many players that I want to be going through and trading for. So I'll try to keep this intro real brief. Make sure you drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down there in the comment section. I'll be trying to answer as many of those comments as I possibly can. And last but not least, you got to make sure you're taking advantage of this Jakobi Meyers player prop tonight. Going up against Chicago, I mean, that looks like a smash spot. And if you want to check out any of those player props on Underdog Fantasy, you can find the link in the description, find the link in the comment section. When you use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100, and available in damn near every single state. Don't tell me, oh, I'm in California, I can't. No, yeah, you can get in anywhere. And I think that should be it. Also, if you got in an underdog draft last week, you better be on the lookout for a 100x boosted pick'em, which I'm hoping that we get to see some screenshots of y'all hitting those, but that should be it. Let's go ahead. Let's dive into these buy low wide receivers. I want to give a shout out to just a couple guys that we've had on the list every single week for God knows how long. DeAndre Hopkins, Jalen Waddle. I feel like we are no longer allowed to have them, right? Is that safe to say? I mean, after DeAndre Hopkins goes out there, 10 receptions, 103 receiving yards, 14 freaking targets. I think we're no longer allowed to have DeAndre Hopkins on the buy low wide receiver video. So I think very similar to how we had to cross Brees off the list a few weeks back after having him on there every single week. May have to do the same thing with DeAndre Hopkins. Just hopefully we don't have the same fate as we had with Brees Hall. But now our first real guy in this buy low wide receiver video, going to be Romeo Doubs. Now with Romeo Doubs, I mean, I did not like him coming into this season. For full transparency, I was looking at a Green Bay Packers situation saying, well, yes, Romeo Doubs has all the training camp hype. Yes, he looked good in the preseason, yada, yada, yada. There's so many players here in Green Bay. I don't really assume that it's going to be the Devontae Adams type situation where a wide receiver comes in and demands 30% of the targets from Aaron Rodgers. So I wasn't a big Romeo Doubs guy, but the situation has entirely changed because we are looking at Christian Watson obviously dealing with a hamstring injury. This is the same Christian Watson that was dealing with a hamstring injury during training camp. Allen Lazard just went down with the shoulder at the end of this last game. Now, of course, we're going to have to continue to monitor this early in the week. I'm recording this super late Sunday night so I can make sure this comes out to you on Monday morning. But Allen Lazard left the game with a shoulder injury, wasn't able to come back. Randall Cobb's on the IR with the ankle. So, I mean, we have so many injuries here in Green Bay that all of a sudden, even if Romeo Doubs wasn't someone I was a massive fan of, even if he was a sell high player for us earlier in the season when a lot of people were super excited about him back in weeks 2 and 3, hell, coming off a performance where he has 0 receptions and 0 yards, I would imagine that some people are going to go out there and just flat out drop Romeo Doubs, where I think this is the best situation he's been in all year. I'm not telling you to go through and start trading away some stud level players. I'm not telling you to go through and trade away a wide receiver like T. Higgins for, hell no, obviously not. With Romeo Doubs, value him as he is one of the last guys on your roster. If you can pick him up for free as a throw-in in a deal, let's do it. If you see one of your league mates see the 0 receptions, 0 yards for Romeo Doubs, and they go ahead and they drop him, and we can just pick him up off the waiver wire, I would be excited about that as well. Man, I'm going over to someone that we had on the video last week, that we had on the video the week before. I mean, 3rd week in a row having Amon-Ra St. Brown as a buy low wide receiver. I thought this would be your last chance to buy low on Amon-Ra, but he comes back and leaves with a concussion. So obviously frustrating for him to come back from the ankle and then suffer a concussion. Amon-Ra St. Brown ran 4 routes, drew 1 target, had 1 reception, and with that 1 reception, knocked him out for the rest of the game. I don't know if Amon-Ra St. Brown comes back this next week. Obviously, we've seen NFL protocol kind of change a bit here, where you can assume that if a player has a concussion, you're probably not getting them back for 2 weeks. So I think Amon-Ra St. Brown gave whoever started him pretty much 1.4 fantasy points. They're probably a little pissed. And I honestly wouldn't recommend that you go through and send offers right this second for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Instead, what I think we do is We wait a week, he's going to miss with a concussion. And then at that point, there would have been like a 5-week stretch where Amon-Ra St. Brown had no production whatsoever, where people will kind of be forgetting about the talent he actually is, what he did at the end of last season, what he was doing at the beginning of this one as well. So wait a week, and then in week 8, Amon-Ra St. Brown, go out there and send those offers. Now, same thing, Keenan Allen. I mean, someone that's been on this list for 3 weeks in a row, right next to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And we're going to copy and paste this same analysis here with Keenan Allen. Don't try to go out there and send that offer right this second. Let's wait a week because he's going into the bye week this week. And then week 8, that's when we're going to be looking to aggressively trade for Keenan Allen. I know I've said this, 50 times now. Like, I wish we had a little Keenan Allen's finally going to be healthy tracker because we've said it for way too long. But hell, he's going into the bye. He was good enough to play this game. However, it wasn't that competitive a contest. I guess Keenan Allen wasn't feeling that great either. So, I mean, halfway through the second quarter, he essentially said, deuces, you know what? We're not going to finish this game out. He only saw, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 11 receiving yards. With Keenan Allen, he only played 23 snaps. Very similar to what we said with Mike Williams back after week 1. Remember Mike Williams after week 1 with a very similar performance with only 2 receptions where everybody was completely off of him. We said, okay, well, the situation just got dramatically better with the Keenan Allen injury. Well, Keenan Allen's situation just got dramatically better with the Mike Williams injury. So I think we wait a week, and then right before Keenan's coming back from the bye, we're going to go through and we're going to aggressively target Keenan Allen. But keep in mind, both Keenan and Amon-Ra St. Brown, those are going to be players for full PPR formats. They're going to be wide receivers operating a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, where you like the target volume. The big playability may not necessarily be there. So definitely for those 2 wide receivers, you're going to go for a full PPR league. Next guy you can target wherever you want, Chris Godwin coming through and playing in an offense where Tom Brady just looks like a completely different quarterback. I don't want to say Tom Brady's washed. I don't want to say Tom Brady's done, because if you've ever said that over the past decade, so many people have, and they've just allowed the entire internet to look at them and laugh at them in unison. Hell, there's an outside chance that Tom Brady actually starts playing better. I'm not going to focus in on that too much because obviously Brady was very, very bad this past week. Tom Brady goes out there, has 49 passing attempts, 290 passing, doesn't even throw a freaking passing touchdown. It was disgusting from Tom Brady. But at the end of the day, this is what we have been saying with both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. It simply doesn't matter how good or bad Tom Brady is at this point, because you are getting the consistent target volume where even if Brady is very inefficient from a per target standpoint, from a per pass attempt standpoint, when Chris Godwin's going out there and getting 13 targets, when Mike Evans going out there and seeing 15 targets, and these wide receivers have 9 receptions, 96 receiving yards, 7 receptions, 43 receiving yards, doesn't matter too much that Brady doesn't look great. These are still going to be fantastic options from a fantasy football standpoint. So you're going to have pretty much every talking head, every mainstream outlet telling you how bad Tom Brady is right now. And if that kind of just leaks into your fantasy football league mate's mind, and we can go through and get Godwin or Evans at a discount, I would really like that. Now our next guy, Amari Cooper. Only 3 receptions this past week, only 4 targets. But hell, what have we been talking about? With Amari, when are we going for him? We're going for him right before you had Deshaun Watson coming back in. And we had Deshaun Watson on the waiver wire video earlier today because 7 weeks into the season, 7 weeks down, 4 more to go for this Deshaun Watson suspension. If you go back and look at Deshaun Watson during his time at Houston, every single year. Obviously, you had DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is a very good wide receiver. But even when Hopkins was gone, then he propped up Will Fuller to be a top 10 wide receiver from a points per game standpoint. Watson himself has been a top 5 quarterback from a points per game standpoint. Hell, if you're looking at the adjusted yards per pass attempt from Deshaun Watson throughout his entire NFL career, his NFL career average for adjusted yards per pass attempt, and just compare that to where the quarterback stacked up at the end of last season, literally only Rodgers and Joe Burrow were there, and that's a career average from Deshaun Watson. The Browns didn't take on all of the Deshaun Watson baggage, pay 3 first-round picks to do it, and then give him the most guaranteed money in NFL history because he's an average quarterback? No, he is a very, very good quarterback. Some may even say that he is an elite level QB. I think he comes in, he elevates this entire Cleveland Browns offense, specifically elevates Amari Cooper. But now going over to our next guy, T. Higgins. You're going to continuously hear me talk about buying T. Higgins. I mean, we're always looking to do it. The reason for this is you essentially only have 3 wide receivers that ever get looks here in Cincinnati. It is Chase, Higgins, Boyd. It is an extremely concentrated passing offense that only is funneled between these 3 players, and Joe Burrow clearly is going to have that elite passing volume where Burrow had 481 passing yards this past week. Now, of course, Tyler Boyd goes out there. Tyler Boyd has himself a day, helps out all our best ball teams where we drafted Tyler Boyd. He has 8 receptions, 155 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. But hell, Higgins, in my opinion, is still going to be the clear wide receiver 2 here. Well, I mean, in my opinion, probably closer to wide receiver 1B to Jamar Chase, wide receiver 1A. If you're looking at the per game statistics for T. Higgins, they are drastically skewed. He left week 1 early with an injury. Remember a couple weeks back, prime time against the Ravens. He also did not play that game with an injury. Fully healthy, I'm expecting a bounce back from Higgins. I really like how concentrated this Cincinnati Bengals offense is. Now going over to the tight end position, we are going to sneak some tight ends in here. I like the idea of seeing what the cost would be on Dallas Goedert. Last time Dallas Goedert played, he only had 2 receptions, 22 receiving yards, but it was about the toughest matchup you could ask for going up against the Dallas Cowboys. We know Dallas has an elite level defense. If we are looking at this Philadelphia Eagles offense, it is pretty damn good, where we should assume that there are a lot of points scored. I mean, so far this season, you have not had a single game by the Philadelphia Eagles with less than 20 points scored. The floor on this team is incredibly high and very similar to Cincinnati. Why I was fine drafting A.J. Brown, why I like drafting Devonta Smith, why I like drafting Dallas Goedert this year in fantasy, is it's an extremely concentrated passing offense where not too many options outside of those top 3 guys are really running routes or drawing targets at all. And on top of this, with Dallas Goedert, he's already gone through the bye week, so you get the added bonus that if you have Goedert on your roster as your tight end, you don't need a backup tight end. You can roll with an extra running back, an extra wide receiver from the waiver wire. But now going over to an elite level tight end, I don't know how realistic it is for you to trade for him, but if somehow you can get him at a discount, hell, let's try to go get Mark Andrews here. Obviously, we didn't have a lot of passing volume this past week. You had a whopping 9 receptions total. 9 total receptions for players in Baltimore here. It was gross, and trust me, I started Mark Andrews in a lot of leagues, and I was very disappointed to see that we had a total of 0 points coming from Mark Andrews. I think it's very easy to see why this happened. It's not that Mark Andrews went from being an elite level tight end last season, I mean, hell, an elite level tight end to start this year, to all of a sudden being a nobody. No. The man got in 1 practice this week. Missed practice on Wednesday, missed practice on Thursday, got in a limited session on Friday. I think we can clearly say what just happened is he wasn't healthy. He shouldn't have played. I think next week should be better. And he's still that elite level tight end that if you can buy just a 10% discount, would love to do so. But I think that's all I got for you in this video. Of course, thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you have not done so yet, go down there, drop that like, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down there in the comment section. And make sure you go take advantage of that Jacoby Myers player prop tonight going up against the Chicago Bears. If you want to check out any player props on Underdog, you want to get in a fantasy draft on Underdog, you can find the link in the comment section. Find it in the description. When you sign up with promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100, and it's available in damn near every state. I think that's all I got for you. Thank you again. I truly appreciate you, and I really do hope I get to see you in the live stream tonight after the game.